Hey, welcome. It's so glad you could be here. I just want to introduce Troy. Troy works with our Roshek youth group down there, and some people may not know him. Today, we just wanted to spend a few minutes and just talk through about some of the stuff that's going on here and some of the fear that's going on. When we think about fear, I just wanted to throw this out and see how many of you guys know what these mean. Blenophobia. Blenophobia is a fear. What is that the fear of? Okay, it's the fear of slime. So I just wanted to let you know that. So somnophobia.
Did you look up that pronunciation?
Somniphobia. Yes, I did. It's phonetically correct. It's fear of sleep. And then, let's see, let's go with zoophobia. Zoophobia, that one everyone should know. It's the fear of animals. Okay, so we talk about fears. There's a lot of different fears out there. And right now, we're talking about a fear that a lot of people are dealing with. But it's interesting because this morning, as I was reading through the book of Psalms and reading Psalm 46, it just jumped out that it's an incredible chapter for what we're going through right now. And I'm going to have Troy read that for us.
Absolutely. So there's 11 verses, starting in verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her, she will not fail. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He lifts his voice, the earth melts. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he has brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the ends of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. He says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress."
Yeah, and you were talking about how you like the sections in that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at least in the versions I was reading, it breaks it up into 3 different sections. And I really liked how the psalmist wrote it, because each section seems to have this very clear intention to it. You know, the first one has a message, the second and the third. So I'd like to walk through those. I'll have you cover the first one. And I think it's a great way for us to approach not only the news we're hearing, but just with everything going on in the world. I think this psalm lays out a very great way for us to remember where our focus should be, where our hope comes from, and how ultimately how we're going to get through all of it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that when this all came up, I sent out a poll to middle school and high school students just to kind of see where you guys are at with all of this. And it came back to where 95 to 97%, that's very technical, but that's exactly where it landed, came back and said they're really not, this doesn't bother them at all. It's an annoyance because you can't do your normal stuff that you want to do. But so for middle school and high school students, for the most part, this isn't affecting your retirement account and stuff like that. So you're just like, why does it bother me? I see my parents, buying 60, rolls of toilet paper, but I don't know, I don't need that much. And but just to understand that this is perfect for what we're dealing with today with the coronavirus, but it's also good for anything that we're going through in our lives where it may be a fear of the unknown. And so as we look at this, the first thing it talks about is that God is our refuge and strength. The fact that God is there in the midst of this. We don't have to worry about what's going on because God's already seen this. He wrote this, thousands of years ago. Or beyond. This is from God. So, it was in his mind forever. And he knew that this coronavirus was going to happen. He knew that all of this was going to take place. And he said, "I'm still your refuge and your strength through all of that." And so as you go through this, I love the fact that it just goes through and it says, "Though its waters roar and foam and the mountains quake in the surging, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells." And that's where God is. And through all of this, he's still there with us. And so I'm going to have Troy jump in for the next part there.
Absolutely. So first section, God's our refuge, he's our strength. And that should be our first focus. God is our comfort, our source of comfort. Second one, not only is he our source of comfort, but the second section, verses 5 through 7, he actually demonstrates how he's with us. So God is within her, she will not fall. God will help her at daybreak. Nations roar, kingdoms fall, he lifts his voice and the earth melts. Verse 6, talking about nations being in an uproar. I like the ESV version, talks about nations are raging. I think back to January, the news media making it feel like we're on the verge of World War III with everything going on in Iran, because it's focused on the tension and the hostility. And even in times like that, now our focus is the virus, but it doesn't matter what our focus is, doesn't matter how bad things are getting. Verse 6 covers that. Nations are in uproar, kingdoms fall. He's still with us. God is still there with us on the earth, and he is our source of comfort always. It's not sometimes, it's not maybe after May he'll come in and show up. No, it's always. Yes. So the third section, starting in verse, sorry, this printout's hard.
8 and 9. Yeah.
8 and 9. So yeah. Starting in verse 8, we enter the third section, and that takes the message from the second, where God's with us, it takes it a step further. And it says, now, not only is God with us, but he's above it all. So, verse 8, come and see what the Lord has done, the desolations he's brought on the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth, breaks the bow, shatters the spear, burns the shield. It's kind of a grim picture in verse 9, but there's also some comfort in that this isn't really what it's all about, this earth. Eventually everything here will pass. It'll be either rust, the moths will eat it, it'll be burned in flames. So I think verse 9 really highlights how God isn't concerned about this world ultimately. He gives us a hope beyond this world, and we need to remember that, especially in times of crisis, whether it be a personal crisis or maybe our city, our country, a global crisis. Always we need to be remembering where our actual source of hope comes from. So then he gives us a command in verse 10. I think you got points on that.
I mean, it's just great because if you want to think about this verse here, it says, be still and know that I am God. If he's not making that easy for you to do at this moment, I mean, I know parents aren't being still. They're just going totally nuts. But the fact that it says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And that time when we need to slow down. And sometimes God brings crazy stuff into our life so that we'll slow down and hear what he wants to tell us. So let's just take this as a great time to say, all right, God, what is it you're trying to teach us during this time? And I love the fact that it says, I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord Almighty is with us. He will be exalted on this earth. Absolutely. It may not be right now. It may not seem like that, but there's coming a time where all nations in our earth, he will be exalted. And it's crazy when you think about it, because it talks about the nations. This is affecting everyone. Across the world, this is affecting everyone. And that's the way God looks at it. He sees the entire world, and he says, through all this, I will be exalted. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about where we can go in the future with that. So make sure to keep checking on social media for stuff, because we got FacePage, we got Tumblr, we got InstaChat, Twitter, the TikTok, 3 Square, Skip, even a carrier pigeon. Whatever it takes for us to get to you and reach out to you and let you know that we care, we'll be on those platforms. So if a bird comes up to your window, with a note, make sure you grab it, because it could be something important from Troy or I.
Animals are treated humanely, though, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, don't shoot them. So that's all we got.
All right.
So thanks.
Well, thanks for joining us.